tiniest little white lie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
no,
so if-
very similar for me.
So, for example, it was a very basic one, and I come from a Persian culture where you always try to keep face. You want to beware your face. What do other people think of you? So you always frame a message in a way that's polite and that other people look at you favorably. So let's say you text me and say, wait, let's go for dinner tomorrow. And let's say I don't feel like going. So one easy way out would be, oh, bro, I'm sorry, I already made plans for tomorrow, so I can't make it. The other would be, I tell you, you know what, I just want to have some time for myself this weekend, and I don't really feel like doing it. So back then, a lot of these smaller, I call it smaller decisions, but they're actually big decisions because they extrapolate to a bigger level too. Would be, I would tell you, you know what, I kind of made plans tomorrow and I don't know. Why would I go that way? Because I don't want you to think of me in a certain way. I want to keep a positive self-image. So I tell you something to keep that image, keep my image within you. Now, if I do it the other way, if I'm just fully honest with you, there's two possible outcomes. One thing could be, he's a freaking idiot, he's what kind of guy is that? He's arrogant. Screw him. And the other one would be, dude, he's like so honest with me. He could have said anything he wanted to, but he chose to be honest. I respect him even more than before. Each one of those outcomes is perfect for me. Why? Because the first outcome, you would be someone that doesn't value my honesty, so that means you'd probably be dishonest with me in the same situation and other situations. Whereas the other one would be, dude, now you have an even higher level of respect for me because I chose to tell you the truth. So realizing that and how that applies to everything in your life, that was a huge change for me because you naturally seed out the events and the relationships that don't map with how you want to go through life when you realize you want to go through life honestly, fully honestly. And at the same time, it strengthens your bonds and it brings events to you couldn't even think of before that because you go based on the cardinal value of truth. Because what you do in the former case, you're using your rational mind to deceive yourself. You're like, hey, I want to speak the truth, but also I don't want him to think of me. So your mind is going to create this narrative. What can I do to kind of dance the limbo?
Keep it sweet, yeah.
Dude, and you have that disconnect between intuition and your rational mind. And that's where everything goes wrong, man. When your heart says one thing and your mind does another thing, boom, you have that disconnect, right? And so that was for me on a mental plane what I was most afraid of. It took me some time to realize. It took me a couple of years to think about everything that I was doing and thinking to realize, dude, actually this comes all down to this. And again, it comes down to fear. That's why I say everything comes down to fear. Why am I afraid to tell you the truth? To tell you, I don't want to be with you tomorrow because I want to have this. And there's ways to say it. You don't have to say, bro, screw you, You could just say, I'm going through, I want to sit with myself. I want to read a book. Let's do this next week or whenever we feel like it, right? And so the reason you wouldn't say that is because you're afraid of losing the status you occupied within that person. You don't want to be demoted. You want to stay there. So that's a fear. Why am I afraid of that? I'm afraid of that because probably to some extent I don't believe in my own status. So I'm dependent on you giving me that status. That's where the fear comes from, right? So, but realizing that you have to be brutally honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And you do that with everything in your life, day to day. And maybe you have to let go of 90% or 95% of who you thought you were. Because all of that were freaking systems you build for yourself to navigate through a forest of deception.
This is gold. This is exactly how I felt before.